At one point, you were the commissioner for the Housing Bureau, which a chunk of this money came from. So what happened there?
I have no knowledge of this. None of this was ever exposed.
Counselors tell me that people are asking them, how does something like this happen? And they're trying to answer that too. They're not even clear exactly how much is at stake, with some saying $15 million was discovered this past weekend.
In a memo to council members, City Administrator Raymond Lee says finance employees found a total of $106 million in unspent money from the Housing Bureau.
Others telling me that's $21 million, all on top of the $20.7 million already disclosed back in November. No matter the totals, it's clear this is a lot of money that is desperately needed in the community.
It is truly, I believe, a symptom of the old form of government and the way that they saved money to pay for projects.
We were originally told the Housing Bureau uncovered about $20 million unspent dollars last year.
Prices are exploding.
Now, the money is supposed to be used for projects focused on short-term rentals, affordable housing, and homelessness.
Audits revealed millions in housing assistance funds that went unspent.
Both Lee and Council President Jamie Dunphy blamed the issue partly on the old form of government when bureaus operated more independently.
I truly don't believe that this is malice. I think that this is just a relic of the old form of government, and we need to root it out wherever it still is.
So we need to use it. We really need to use it.
Counselor Loretta Smith was concerned after $21 million in unused rental service dollars was disclosed to council in November.
Lee says it's common for a city to let money accumulate so it can be used for bigger projects. However, city councilors have told us they didn't even know about this money.
She's more alarmed now that millions more were found this weekend, totaling nearly $40 million over the past 6 years that could be going to the community.
At one point, you were the commissioner for the Housing Bureau, which a chunk of this money came from. So what happened there?
I have no knowledge of this type of. I have no knowledge of that.
You have folks who are in need who are literally missing out on resources because of a process of misoversight or lack thereof, right? So you have people who potentially are now unhoused, who could in fact remain housed had we known this several years ago.
That's why Pastor Mark Jackson with Oasis of Praise came to City Hall from District 3.
Portland City Councilman Dan Ryan served as the Housing Bureau Commissioner from 2020 to 2022. Ryan says he had no control over every dollar and wasn't looped into every detail about the budget.
It's the bureau director and their financial controls under them.
Must be mindful of humanizing the process. At the end of the day, there are people unsheltered. People who are one tick away from being unsheltered.
And none of this was ever exposed.
Ryan now sits on the Housing Committee. He and Dunphy are calling for accountability.
That's probably why I'm so crystal clear that we need an independent financial audit. Objective facts about this issue.
Everywhere we turn around, just boom, boom, boom. There's $100 million being just accounted for. Nope, we can't find it. Don't really know where we spent it. Just hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Just right? Just going. Today we're looking at Portland, Oregon. $106 million in housing funds that went unspent. How does that work out? Now, what I'm going to say is, Portland is basically defending this whole deal by saying that they've gone from one form of government to another, and the old form of government, the way they spent money is different than the new form of government. And I'm kind of like, $106 million? You just got $106 million sloshing around? Apparently so, that they can't account for. But hey, at least we found it now, right? Yeah. This is a wild story. Here we go. City continues to struggle to address homelessness and affordable housing, but officials say significant pots of money went untapped. None of this surprises me. You know what I mean? You've got an absolute failed city in Portland. I would say Seattle is right behind it. I would say San Francisco is turning itself around. mean, that's just the harsh reality, and it's all based on leadership, right? You've got responsible leadership. You've got reasonable leadership. And I hate to say that down in San Francisco, because I did as many podcasts as anybody, just absolutely dumping on San Francisco because it deserved it. Now Portland deserves it because you got a bunch of elected officials who are like, things are great here. Well, except for the fact all the businesses are leaving and homelessness is exploding. Downtown core is absolutely being driven into the ground. Massive buildings are being sold at 80, 90, 95% discounts. Don't have enough income coming in to pay all the city's bills. But meanwhile, got $106 million that, who knew? Didn't spend it yet. Portland has now discovered roughly $106 million of previously unidentified funding within the Portland Housing Bureau. It's more than 5 times the initial amount by city staff in November, which sparked alarm among both the public and elected officials at the time. You know what? I think we're getting so inured to the fact that fraud is all around us that we almost don't really care. Oh, well, if it's not $1 billion, I'm not even going to read that story, right? I mean, how many of you saw this and thought $106 million? It's not that bad. I mean, I could do a lot with $106 million, but they're politicians, and so Portland and Oregon, that's like what, a dozen tents, maybe 3 blankets, and maybe a booty bump kit. Times are tough. Things just don't. Money doesn't go as far as it used to. In a memo released Friday, Portland's top administrator, Raymond Lee, who was just hired in December, characterized the newfound money as a relic of the city's former government system. Oh, I love it. I love it. Just blame the other guy. Blame the old guy that was here before. I don't mean old as in ageist, right? Because I'm as old as anybody, right? Yeah. So it's what we're doing. Much of the funding was the result of Housing Bureau leaders allowing certain program funds to accumulate over time, with the plan to spend those excess dollars on future projects once enough money had amassed. More than $106 million? More than that? What they're talking about is individual programs. Some of these programs had $24, $25 million, as we saw in some of the video. And you're like, okay, that's not exactly chump change, right? Chump change. Lee said this was typical practice for government bureaus, but he said the fact that bureaus never shared information with city leaders who craft the city budget is a facet of Portland's old form of government that must change. This is perfect cover for if they came right out and said, hey, we had a massive screw up. We've still got the money, but here's the deal. We want to be transparent with you. And not like when most politicians say transparent, what they mean is to overlay with more nonsense that doesn't really make sense, but they're throwing information out at you in the hopes that you believe it's somehow transparent. I mean, if they just came right out and said, oh, we had a screw up here. We found $106 million. Who knew? Here's how we're going to spend it. I'd be okay with that. But instead, you're always going to have this, well, it's their fault, and it's the former form of government, and just a bunch of nonsense. This moment reflects the city's ongoing shift from bureaus and offices developing budgets independently to the city of Portland managing its finances holistically under our new form of government. How's that going? Holistically. How's that going? I'm prepared to support the council as the city's legislative body in making fully informed decisions. Hey, where's that money, Joey? Where's that? Where's all that? Oh, it's all right there. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Portland's new government, where bureaus are overseen by uniform. I almost don't give a damn. You know what I mean? I don't really care. You had $106 billion. Your government's gonna change. Do something with the money. You got to have. You're spending how much a year? $750 million on homeless nonsense, and you can't figure out where $100 million is. $106 million. All right, let's take a quick peek. Here we got $20.7 million in the rental services office. We're going to tear this apart. All right. This money was generated by a fee that landlords must pay to register new rentals and is legally required to be spent on programs that help renters stay housed. All right, let's break that one down. So landlords have to pay a fee to register a new rental that has to go with keeping bad tenants or non-paying, non-performing tenants in said rental housing, which has been made more expensive by having this stupid little fee come in. And the money is not being used to the tune of $21 million. How does, $11 million in short-term rental fund. A pot of money comes from a tax on vacation rentals in Portland, like VRBO and Airbnb. These are expected to be used on affordable housing and homelessness programs. And how many thousand unsheltered homeless does Portland have right now? It's in the thousands, right? Thousands and thousands. Massive problem. Think they might be able to use a quick 11 million? Maybe 20.7 million? Yeah, I think so. 8 million in transient lodging tax fund. Sorry, what? 4 million from several smaller funds, the Housing Investment Fund, revenues collected through federal housing funds, landlord damage claims, and county funds set aside to redevelop an apartment complex once owned by the city. There's just so much mismanagement here. It's just the blind leading the blind, right? 29 million from the tax increment fund. Don't even care. 22 million from a construction excise tax. Oh, there we go. So all of these fees have made Portland more expensive from the housing standpoint. Those costs get borne by either people buying homes from builders or people renting real estate from landlords who have built this into their equation. Because in order for them to keep doing what they're doing, which is running a business, they have to make what is called a profit. So when the stupid city says, oh, give them a construction excise tax, or let's give them a higher fee on the housing property fund, or let's jack up the affordable housing development fund, anytime any of those numbers get tweaked in an upward way, it gets passed on to the consumer. And that is how you have some of the most expensive housing in all of the land, in all of the United States, on the West Coast, best coast. Because the West Coast is best coast at raising taxes. But you know what? Go Hawks. Hawks. They won. That was a boring game. I was just like, oh, another field goal. Sweet. Did you watch Bad Bunny? I did. But I had the turning point on my phone here. TV had Bad Bunny because I just wanted to see how bad Bunny was. And I didn't even have to say anything. My girlfriend watched it and she said, that was terrible. I didn't even have to say it. Normally I'll say that and she'll say, you're just not being understanding enough. You're not recognizing what's going on in the general picture. And she just got up and said, that was terrible. Agreed. Bad Bunny. Halftime. Terrible. Go woke, go broke. So since learning of the initial 21 million in surprise housing dollars last year, counselors have been debating the best way to put them to use. How about you take some of the homeless folks off the streets, get them housed? What about that? How about that? Would that be a good? Yeah, there are unique circumstances around Housing Bureau funds that suggest this is an isolated incident. Here's where they backfill and tell us it's all going to be fine. It's going to be good. Kind of like podcaster Newsom down in California for all of the fraudulent events that he's had during his, the $1 billion debacle, light rail to nowhere, right? The bullet train to nowhere. How about all of those? Oh, we're on track now. We're going to build this thing. And it's not indicative of a broader citywide practice of under-budgeting fund balances. No, I believe that is true. Under-budgeting fund balances, I don't think is something that Portland can't afford it right now. Portland continually has a broke budget, and moving forward, most of these big blue cities will suffer dramatically because their downtowns have been hollowed out don't have enough businesses, don't have enough, they've got way too much in the way of vacancy factor. Nobody wants to live in the downtown. Nobody wants to rent in the downtown. And as a result, all those tax dollars that normally would go through are not going through right now. So Portland, of all cities, needs to get their rear in gear and figure out why this money wasn't spent. Get out there and spend it on something, right? Be a good consumer. Go spend it. Go contribute to that inflation going on out there. Remember the Inflation Reduction Act that actually just increased inflation because you sent a few $1 trillion through the economy when it was already red hot? Yeah. Hey, let's throw a couple more $1 trillion through and we'll see what happens. Interest rates went through the roof and, my business has suffered. So there's that, right? And anybody in real estate has basically been locked into their low interest rates. People aren't moving off of it. They're not selling their home. They're not refinancing. They're not doing all that good stuff. So when you hear things, when you hear stuff like the Housing Property Fund, it's kind of like the Inflation Reduction Act. It's like words, but they don't really have the intended result. So the Housing Property Fund, it's pretty much done nothing. But, it's $4.8 million that Portland's got in their pocket that they certainly won't see coming from excise tax and from taxes from businesses operating in their downtown core, because those are leaving left, right, and center as Portland's core hollows out. And it's because of financial debacles like this where they can't work out where 100 million is, because Portland, Multnomah County, they've got some real issues with homelessness. They need that money. They need that money to be spent wisely. It won't be spent wisely because what it took to lose 106 million in between governments coming in and going out is exactly how you have a city overrun with homelessness, massive commercial vacancy factor, buildings being sold for literally pennies on the dollar, 80, 90% discounts. Some of the biggest discounts in the United States are happening in Portland, Oregon right now because of all this kind of stuff going on. 106 billion, where'd it go? Don't really know. It's okay though. Nobody did this on purpose. In fact, it's just, money in between governments. Okay. All right. Who wants to make a bet that it goes to 200 million? 106 goes to 2. Think so? Maybe? All right. Yeah. I'd make that bet as well. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.